Janice Gomez, host and producer of Inside the Zone in New York, the community platform where information is guaranteed. Join me on Mondays at 5 on Fit 96.7, fitfmja.com, Trelawney's Radio, your life, your music, for exciting features within the diaspora. And hear what's on our minds. It's Alive at 5 on Fit 96.7, fitfmja.com.
Fit FM is owned and operated by Communication Company Limited, located in Stuart Castle, Duncan's, Trelawney, Jamaica. We broadcast on FM 96.7 locally and is heard worldwide on fitfmja.com. Our mission is to amplify diverse voices and opinions in inform, educate, entertain, and engage listeners of all ages and lifestyle while promoting responsible community development. Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music.
Blessings and light. This is Aymara, the musical revolutionary. Your host and the community buzz on the Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. This and every Monday at 3 p.m. From the home to the community to the wider world. Let us be the change we want to see. Join me this and every Monday at 3 p.m. on the community buzz on Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. Fit mind, fit body, fit community, fit world. This is Aymara, the musical revolutionary on the community buzz on Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music.
Before God and all mankind, I pledge the love and loyalty of my heart, the wisdom and courage of my mind, the strength and vigor of my body in the service of my fellow citizens. I promise to stand up for justice, brotherhood, and peace, to work diligently and creatively, to think generously and honestly, so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race.
Struggle goes on. We are the builders of the pyramids. We are the builders of the stone cities of Zimbabwe. We build them White House. We build them factories. With blood, with sweat, with tears. With flesh, with bones. Them use build them economy. Now them want come con you and me with them science and them technology. We make them take with knowledge. Man, them are blind. We are walk, we are ride, we are drive, we are fly. Nah, look, nah, see. Eyes focus on the screen of an iPhone, Galaxy, tablet, Blackberry. Wake up, look. Uno no sister them are very well. Ancestors crying out. Yes. This is the community buzz on Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music. We are also simulcasting on www.primal4k.com. And we are on the World Wide Web, www.fitfmja. Yes, today we have a very special guest. And guess what? We are going to talk politics. Because politics is a science and we must explore that science
to the depth, to the deepest half of it, you know, to understand the whole thing about politics, because there is where policies are formed that will affect our lives positively or negatively. So we're happy. Before we really introduce the guest, still, you know, we just all go through some things. We see we are a particular MP there at the Sia Galilee, and you know, getting emotional that Jesus walked the Sea of Galilee. But when we check it out, crying out for, but she's sitting by the Sea of Galilee, feeling all emotional about somebody who they claim walked on the sea 2,000 years ago. What a sad situation. And our people in Jamaica suffering. And we are paying attention to these things, you know, we are paying attention to these things. I wonder how the people in East Portland feeling about something like that when them see these things on social media. Because one of the things, you know, we're glad about social media, because social media makes some people can't hide them ego. They have to come out and show the things that they are doing, whether it is positive or whether it is negative. And that is a kind of life that we are facing, you know what I mean, in this what we call technological age, this fourth industrial revolution that is affecting the minds of so many people. Enough people do have an understanding or clear understanding, you know what I mean, what it really is about. But one of the people, you know, to call in or to send a text, you know what I mean, because this is your program, and we have a special guest that maybe in a year or two from now, depends on when them call the election, that will maybe or will be your representative, and he's putting up himself for that. So what I would want you to do is to interact with him. I know I interact with the people out there, but I wonder if you still have the same mindset, we want to believe same I go be your daddy. That you call, you run, come give you something. You understand? We want to change that kind of politics there. So, here I say, the numbers are 876-478-9144, 876-513-6668. So you can call and you can text in, you know what I mean? And before we really introduce him, last week we had the councillor from the Wakefield division, and he promised, you know, that he would deal with the people up at Bounty Hall when it comes to the water situation that they are facing for the past 4 months. And we realize, according to what I'm hearing, because we have contact there, that sometimes water coming out the pipe and sometimes it lack off. It comes and it goes, you know. So we don't know how them are going to remedy that situation there, you know, pertaining to the water situation in Bounty Hall, because we are in Jamaica where, you know what I mean, water is here abundantly, abundance of water. Yet some people don't have a tip in them pipe. We wonder, oh, it worked that way. I may have to talk about even the Portland MP, you know, because Portland is a place where all of the water them we are buying a supermarket and them thing there, you know, we understand, see, a Portland it a come from, you know. Yet people in a Portland, last time I was in Portland about a month ago with a good sister of mine. Big up yourself, Ayabingi. And we did no water in our house. I mean, I see a place like Portland with so much water. They're all over the island in a supermarket to sell. Then we don't have it in our pipe over here, so you understand? So we are looking at these things, and these things when we talk about governance, this is how we have to look on governance. You know what I mean? What it really takes, you know, what it takes for people to have running water in them home. We see a brethren in a same Trelania, you know, years ago, Patmore. We have to dig up that brethren there. And there was a struggle in the division that he won. I forget which election. I believe it was 2007. He won that what you call independent election. It went up as an independent and won the election, right? And he water problem. And they were saying that it would take millions of dollars to get water to the people. I understand they take him less than 250,000 out of their own pocket to get water to the people and shame the sitting MP at the time. Saying, so some of the things not that hard. Are just the people that make it look like say it's hard. You understand? But whenever I call him name, we are going to move into something. Before me introduce our special guest, we are going to drop that piece of tune, yeah. Right?
My father Banya, my father Banya, my grandmother Banya, my grandmother Banya, Ayana Ibanya, Ayana Ibanya, my leader Banya, my leader Banya. That's why I not live.
Pull up. You see them tune here? Whether I want to believe it, yes or no, them tune here are some big tune. Whether it is political, I want to tell you the power of this tune. All the GLP use it on the PMP in our election and win. Pull up that tune here again. When you Mr. Neville Martin, a Trelawney man too. See? D side, big up the people up at D side. Neville Martin.
Father Banya, my father Banya, my grandmother Banya, my grandmother Banya, Ayana Ibanya, Ayana Ibanya, my leader Banya, my leader Banya. That's why I not live. No, I not live. He gave I a message to all those people who no love progress, who no love progress. Said to took them with land lease. Said to took them with land lease. Let the took them with the pioneer war. Took them with the pioneer war. Took them with Jamal. Took them with Jamal. Then you took them with free education. Took them with free education. Equal pay for women. Equal pay for women. Took them with the minimum wage. Took them with the minimum wage.
Yes. The man say, he might give you a message to all of the people when you love progress. I want to understand. You see that line there? This is a message to all the people who no love progress. Well, this is Fit FM. And this is how we operate on Fit FM. Now, before I introduce the special guest, let me big up some people always a bug me. You know what I mean? Firepal, Jamaics, Shango, Michael, Pomajo. See, big up yourself. The people in Brooklyn, the people in New Jersey, big up yourself, Mr. Patrick Bedford, with your fist up in the air, seeing, stand firm according to another message. See, now, Annette Parchment, big up yourself, comrade, me know what I go on. See, now, we are sending a message to the people when I love progress. But right now, there's somebody here who wants to find out from him if he really love progress. And the person that we have here is Mr. Dennis Meadows. How you do, Mr. Meadows?
Fine, thank you. I'm Mario. Let me say good afternoon to your listeners and your viewers. But before I go further, I'm Mario. With due respect and honor to the author and singer of this legendary music.
Yes.
And there are those who argue its relevance now. I dare say it is even more relevant today against the context of my golden race. Everything is being questioned.
True.
And in response to that music, what that music is actually saying, Mike Golding Barnia, notwithstanding his English heritage from his father.
Yes.
He was born here, he has served here, he remains here, and marry a black Jamaican, right? And therefore is no less of a Jamaican than you and I.
All right.
So the song is even more relevant today.
Today than before.
Certainly.
Yes, 1976, a whole heap of years that, you understand, and a song like this. The funny thing about this song, I believe it was the last election, or 2016, the GLP dried on the PMP in a St. Mary. So you can see the power of music. Yeah, with thanks to Mr. Martin. I wonder what was going through his mind. Mr. Dennis Meadows, we see that you are here now, right? And you representing, let me just say that we are the People's National Party. Though the delegate, right, hasn't voted yet to give you the full endorsement, but you are out there working. You told me earlier this morning that you were heading to a demonstration. Just give us a little update on what you went about, and the progress that is taking place there.
First of all, for our listeners and viewers, let me outline to you the process I'm going through to candidacy. The policy and rules of the party, as dictated by the Secretariat under the leadership of Comrade Dayton Campbell, who's General Secretary. Mm-hmm. What they see to do, they're using a scientific process to determine the best and viable candidate to represent the party in the next election. What they're doing, in addition to delegates soundings and votes, what they're seeking to do, that if you apply for candidature, a poll is done, an opinion poll done by a noted pollster, mm-hmm, to test your viability as a candidate, not just with the delegates, but with the wider constituency. Mm-hmm. So, but you have to get a minimum of 25% to move forward to any possible selection to the delegates. Okay. So a question would be asked of you, and I'm quite sure those within Trelawney can attest to the fact they were being approached by pollsters over the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
If an election is called today, Dennis Meadows against the incumbent Tovo, who would you vote for? If an election is called today, my opponent against Tovo, who would you vote for? And if you achieve 25% and more, you go on to the delegates for a contest. If you receive less than 25%, okay, you'll be asked to, in fact, your campaign done. A sudden death. In my own opponent's case, she received 9%.
She received what much?
9%.
Wow.
I received beyond 50%, almost 60%. And I'm told that was the highest polling among aspirants across the island. Among aspirants all across the island.
Okay.
So I am now approved to go on to the delegates for what they call a sort of ratification or yes/no vote. So and I think I have to achieve more than 50% among the delegates.
Okay. So that is the only bridge,
yes,
to cross.
And it's important because we all know that you can buy delegates. So what the party is safeguarding against
Yes.
is you with deep pockets, have a selection, you buy the delegates, you win the delegates' votes, but you're not viable in the wider constituency. And so that to me is a fair, open, and transparent process, to ensure that the right person emerge.
You touch on a point pertaining to buying delegates. We soon go there, so Zine, because I always think about the word democracy, and if it is a democratic, process, it's supposed to be free and fair. And if it can, anything that can be bought, or anyone may see you as a slave, and if that process continue, can we look at it as a democratic process, or it is something, can we say it is free and fair for the people? We soon get this up. But I asked you a question before, that you went on a mission to
Thank you for reminding me.
So
Yes.
I want you to, give the people an update, because that is a part of the whole program. We want people to understand what is taking place within our community.
In full context, if you recall, the Everglades Long Pond factory was closed some 2 years ago. Because sugar is really dead. Let's call it as it is. And the then Everglade company that was leased Long Pond Sugar Factory was given also 4,000 hectares of land in which to plant cane and produce sugar. With the closure and the consequent displacement and dislocation of the workers and the farmers who have worked there for years, the government of the day suggested that the 4,000 hectares of land be made to cane farmers and some workers. So was really to mitigate against any socio-economic fallout. So people have lost their jobs and they need some subsistence. So in that regard, a move was made to all island cane farmers, which is a representative, call it a union group that represent all cane farmers across the island, was to be the intermediary between the farmers and the SCJ, the Sugar Company of Jamaica,
Yes.
who manages the sugar business in Jamaica. Now, I can understand government don't want to deal with 400 or 500 farmers as landlord. That is untidy from an administrative and management point of view. So what they do, they essentially give that 4,000 hectares of land to all landed cane farmers to sublet to the workers and the farmers. What is happening now? Our landed cane farmers, who is interestingly being led by a political connected interest, one who also worked for SCJ, which that in and of itself is a conflict, because you can't serve two masters.
At the same time.
What they're doing now, they're leasing these lands to farmers upwards of $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 per acre.
Per acre?
Yes. And most of these lands have no access to water. Not even a pipeline run across the road.
And leases per year?
Per year.
Yes, cool.
Now, let me put it in context and full disclosure, because I believe that when you speak, you must be transparent. I lease approximately 30 acres of land as we speak from government, the same sugar company lands in Danieltown, at $2,000 per acre. I lease directly from SCJ. Now you tell me, why is Dennis Meadows paying $2,000 per acre, who was not a farmer, not dislocated by the result of the closure of the factory? I'm not impacted by that, right? Why am I paying $2,000 per acre directly to SCJ But these farmers and workers are asked to pay $9,000-$10,000 per acre to all island cane farmers, who is their immediate landlord, right? And you'd have known that if government was, remember, no, the objective was to assist these farmers who were dislocated. Yes. So you would imagine that if sugar companies leasing this land, the 4,000 hectares to our island, they would have given them at concessionary rates. And in this case, they were given 1 year moratorium on lease. In other words, they don't pay $1 for a year on these lands, which should be passed on to the farmers. That is not done, right? So the question is asked, why is all island cane farmers leasing these lands at prohibitive and onerous rates for these struggling farmers? But Dennis Meadows and others, not only me, yes, are paying. Those who lease directly from SCJ is able to get it at 2,000 per acre. Something is fundamentally wrong and unjust with that. So this morning, they came together as a group in peaceful protest. I was able to facilitate the media so they could voice their concerns publicly. Yes. So in that regard, it was a success. We await the response from SC in terms of how they address this very sore issue.
Eloquently, articulating that whole situation, and I hope the people out there understand, that you can get it for 2,000 per acres, yet the ordinary farmer who's supposed to have access to this land or benefit from it, you are literally pushing them away.
Thank you.
Because that is what is happening. You are pushing them that, we can't pay for this. So they maybe have some other people in mind when they believe, say, all right, these lands, are there for you because we don't know, say, they can't afford this.
Or somebody's making a hustle on the backs of these vulnerable, struggling farmers.
It is a sad situation in Jamaica. We'll soon get to the land issue because that is something we need to talk about pertaining to the whole political system in Jamaica. But Mr. Meadows, tell the people, who is Mr. Meadows? Your early childhood, because sometimes we go upon some research and we realize, let me see where them say you're born at Kingston. You know what I mean? So we want to know if it's a Trelawney man or you're born somewhere else and you come here. Mr. Comiam is not a barnya. But we're still there and we give thanks, because Trelawney is really a beautiful place, So, early life.
Early life?
Yes.
Born, those who know me know I hate talking about myself, but I'll make an exception briefly. Born and bred and school in Kingston. Came this side in 1992 to Montego Bay. I was recruited by a computer company because my profession is, I'm into information technology, or what they now call IC. So I was imported by a noted computer company in Montego Bay to manage their firm. Because my skill sets were scarce at the time in Montego Bay. Spent years in Montego Bay. The thought for me was it would have been a temporary gig. But you come to country, boy meets girl, you end up. So I ended up a Montagonian for many years. In 2006, the JLP at the time asked me, Bruce Goling, requested that I come to North Trelawney to represent the people of North Trelawney. Why? Because the incumbent Marissa Dalrymple, who is now the MP of Southern Trelawney, was initially here, a lot of people don't remember that. She sought and won the candidacy to represent the seat for the JLP back in 2006, somewhere there. Okay. But with the departure of the member of parliament, I think McDaniel up there, for some reason or other, he departed, the seat became available. and the party moved her from north
To South.
to south. At the time, I was the deputy general secretary of the Jamaica Labour Party. And under the leadership of Bruce Golding, he asked me to fill the breach temporarily. So I thought that I would have gone back to Mobi if I'd lost. But having arrived there in 2006, and nobody knows me, I like a challenge. I was told that this seat was politically a very difficult seat. And anybody knows me that if you want to get me going, tell me I can't do it. And I came here, I worked, I endeared myself to the people of Trelawney. From my coming here, I have received nothing but love and respect from the people of Trelawney, including the very party I ran against then. In fact, there are those who argue that I enjoyed and continue to enjoy a more warm relationship among comrades than even my own at the time. But what I discovered, the politics in Trelawney is not as tribal and volatile like some, or acrimonious, like some other constituencies.
Sure.
Trelawney is a special place where you see Labour Right and PNP sit down together and drink. And I think that augurs well for the political maturity of the people of Northern Trelawney. So in closing, so having come here and decided I'm going to run and then go back, in fact, on my last in 2007 election, I was appointed a government senator by the then Prime Minister. And I decided to make Trelawney my home.
Wow.
I came here, I fell in love with, I can't call anybody know him, at the public. It's up to me.
Big up the queen, man.
But my queen Angela Campbell Meadows.
Bless up Angela Campbell.
She fell in love with her. In fact, we fell in love on the campaign trail too. And we got married somewhere in 2015.
So are you saying she's a political activist too?
No, she is politically minded, but she's not an activist.
Okay.
Because
she just say on the campaign trail.
Yes, at the time, interesting. Maybe she was more a Meadows activist than a political activist. Maybe then she had other interests. No, but she's public minded though, very public minded, take an interest in public and national issues. But she's more in the background.
Yes.
I am in the foreground.
And that's where power lies enough time.
Certainly.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And in fairness to her, and I must give respect for her because she afforded me the freedom to go there and do what she have a passion for.
And you have a passion for politics.
I have a passion to serving people and politics.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
I think it's innate.
Innate?
Yeah, born. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
From school days, I've always been somebody. God has blessed me with a loud voice, a brain.
Yeah.
He has blessed me with a sense of fearlessness that I use to defend the powerless and the voiceless. I'm the only citizen that if I drive and I see a police, for example, disrespecting a citizen,
yes,
I will stop and intervene at the risk of being arrested.
Yes.
And I've been arrested many times in that regard.
Sure.
Just defending people.
You ever go to jail yet or sleep?
One time.
One time.
For
defending the people.
For defending the people. Wasn't charged, but for defending the people. A policeman at the time taught me a lesson.
Okay.
You know, at one time I thought of suing him for unlawful detention, but that's such a call it that. But it's a natural thing for me. I have a burning disdain for injustice and the propensity of the powerful to oppress and repress the powerless.
You know why I asked you about your early life and now to hear you bring it to this point, right? Looking at you as a black man,
Yes.
right? And no, I'm going to use that term there, black man. you know, and we know the history of our lives, you know.
Yes.
Most of us, we attain certain level of education, and it propel us to become, you know, something better, you know. Some people use it as a tool against their own people, and some
Yes.
people use it as a tool to elevate themselves and elevate them people, right? Now, looking at you and hearing you say this is an innate thing, you just want to agitate, advocate for a better life for the people in general.
Yes.
But you would have to position yourself, you know, you would have to develop yourself politically, stand out and the sense of the political party, right, in Jamaica,
Yes.
the PNP, GLP. You see, one is more towards the struggling people, you know, the history shows that, you know. Maybe people will say if you go back to the Bustamante days, you'll see where it was there for the ordinary people. But when it comes to the latter part, you know, after 1962, coming up into the 70s, after the independence, you realize that there was, you know, a different kind of movement, a movement of Black consciousness, Black liberation, you know what I mean? And that was, and the reason why I'm carrying it right here, because you would be born in that era, the era where the consciousness of the people, you know what I mean, led by Michael Manley, was being trumpeted by the Rastafari movement and the Black conscious African, you know, Pan-Africanist movement. Now, I am asking you now, with that kind of interest, why did you align yourself with the Jamaica Labour Party when we know the history of the Jamaica Labour Party, especially in the 1970s, how they undermine and help to destabilize the country by the aid of the, this is public knowledge now, you know, so we can't say it loud, aided by the United States and the CIA to crush a liberation movement that would fundamentally liberate the people of Jamaica. Why you align yourself with the GLP, knowing that, if you did have knowledge of that?
Thank you. And very targeted and pointed question. You shoot straight. Many of us evolve and get involved in different facets of our lives, whether religiously or politically, by virtue of our socialization. By that, I mean our parents. So I grew up with my parents, adopted parents, who were essentially laborites. So it was almost a natural, at that time, I was not politically aware of the issues and the nuances at the time. So my natural, when I sought to get politically involved, I leaned to the Labour Party. But having served there for most of my life, my youthful life, I gave the Labour Party most of my youthful life. I was a young youth activist, political activist at the time, coming up. I came through the ranks. I observed that philosophically, the JLP was what I regard as a bunch of privileged color people who come together for a common interest, that's winning the elections, and after winning the elections, that pulls apart. It goes back to individualism. And I say that why I say that. There is good and bad in every, I believe sincerely that both political parties have a desire to serve. We might question the route they take, their policy, and their mandate. But at the core of all these, both these political parties, they want to serve. But if you recall the emergence of the JLP, the JLP was really formed out of convenience to contest the 1944 elections, universal the suffrage. You remember? Bustamante was a part of the Labour or the PNP. Some people think forget that. So that party was basically created out of convenience. The PNP historically was brought together by an ideology, a philosophy that make it a movement. And to date, I believe that the PNP is more a homogeneous group, binded by a philosophy and ideology, than the JLP that is binded by what I call convenience, self-interest.
You hit some point, and we are going to go a little deeper, I know, but we will cool it off a little. Play back, I need a bar now. Still, we have to just go and, make the people feel a vibe. Well, Mr. Beckford have a voice note. We want for hear. Make we hear the voice note before we go to that, because we want people.
Yeah, this is true. We mentioned that him. And that's not a lie. But the question I have for it is, considering this constitutional change, what would be Dennis Meadows' model for the new Jamaican sense of governance or style of governance? I mean, as you know, I'm totally against the ceremonial president. But what would be his?
All right, before we go there, so make him go and ponder that in his head, and when we come back, you know what I mean? Make we hit Mr. Neville Martin, big tune there again.
My father Banya, my father Banya, my grandmother Banya, my grandmother Banya, I Banya, and I Banya, my leader Banya, my leader Banya. That's why I not live here. No, I not live here. He gave I a message to all those people who no love progress, who no love progress. He said to do them with land lease. He said to do them with land lease. Let the juke them with the pioneer war.
Yes. It is Fit FM. It is 96.7. Your life, your music. And as we say, we are simulcasting on Primal Media, right? And it is www.primal4k.com, right? Over there in the United States of America, right? We are there as well. And we are on the World Wide Web, www.fitfmja.com. And we are saying to the people, just like Mr. Beckford, if you feel like sending a voice note, a question or some suggestion to Mr. Dennis Meadows, you can go ahead and do so. And the numbers are 876-478-9144, 876-513-6668, right? I'm going to repeat the numbers. 876-478-9144, 876-513-6668. That's a very important question from Mr. Patrick Beckford. But I don't really want to cloud your mind, but I go into this old constitution when I have it. See? And because it's something we have to look deep into, we never really want to go there so early, but we can maybe spend some time on it. At the court at Buckingham Palace, the 23rd day of July, 1962, present the Queen's Most Excellent Majesty in Council, Her Majesty, by virtue in exercise of the powers in that behalf by subsection 1 of Section 5 of the West Indies Act 1962, or otherwise in her vested, is pleased by and with the advice of her Privy Council to order, and it is hereby ordered as follows. The word ordered. Pay attention to it, right? This order may be cited as the Jamaica Constitution, Order in Council 1962. That's Section 1. Section 1(2), subject to the provision of subsection 2 of Section 3 of this order shall come into operation immediately before the appointed day. In this order referred to as the commencement of this order. Right in here, so we are going now. Provided that whereby or under this order, the Governor General has power to make any appointment or to make any order or to do any other thing for the purposes of this order, that power may be exercised by the Governor of the Colony of Jamaica at any time after the 24th day of July 1962 to such extent as may, in his opinion, be necessary or expedient to enable the Constitution established by this order to function as from the commence of this order. When you hear the word order, what comes to your mind, Mr. Meadows, before we even talk about the Constitution?
Dictate.
One word, dictate. And that dictating or dictatorship is in from who?
The crown.
The crown.
Foreign soil.
Foreign soil. Now, when we talk about Constitution reform, there's group of people in Jamaica who really want land, you know, and it's the Maroon and the Crown. We realize that this Constitution reform totally eliminate the group of people there. Nobody not deal with them. Now, I want you to answer Mr. Beckford question pertaining to your views on the Constitution, but you have to go into that aspect of it. You know what I mean? You just say a word, dictate. Having this piece of document that the orders of the crown, you know, give to their subjects here to run this corporation called Jamaica, because that it is what it is. This corporation called Jamaica. What can we do now? How can we make that adjustment, knowing that a lot of the people who are now trying to reform what is here are schooled by the same system? How are we going to make any changes with the same mindset of people, especially the Prime Minister, who is now a Privy Council? How it can possibly work in the best interest of the people?
I think if we seek to pursue this constitutional issue, it's important that we explain to the people what a constitution is. It's the first thing to get out of the way. Because there's a presumption that our people know what is really a constitution. A constitution is basically an agreement between the governed, who are the people, and the governor, who is our leaders. That's what a constitution is. And it basically set the terms and condition, right? Yes. How you ought to be treated, what are your rights, what can be done, blah, blah, blah. So it's actually an understanding between the governed and those who govern.
Yes.
Now, this government has sought to hurriedly seek to approach. Let me give a little background. I was also a member of the National Democratic Movement. And you know that the National Democratic Movement platform was constitutional reform, real constitutional reform, not superficial, that is now being pursued by this government. To change from a monarchy to a mere republic, that's putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. There's no real change.
Why you say that?
Because all you're simply doing is just swapping one type of the system for another. There's constitutional reform must be approached in a very substantive, fundamental way. You just spoke to some clauses there. First of all, the typical Jamaican reading that what you just read a while ago, I'm sure you were lost by the time you read section 44 or 44 subsection 3 of section 5. You forget exactly what you're talking about. So in simple terms, the Constitution must be easy, and like our laws, must be easily read and simply written. This foolishness about subsection, blah, blah, blah.
And you have to go over.
Yes, and switch back.
Yeah, and
right?
switch back.
Right? That is designed to fool.
Confusion.
That is, and I think that's the objective, to fool our people.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I can read a simple document that's an agreement that when I read it that day, this is how I must be managed. These are my rights. And I must be clear what it says. Don't tell me what a subsection, this subsection, that, and foolishness. So it is important that I believe that we must, and I think we really risk wasting an opportune time in history to superficially just move from a monarchy to a republic. I believe that we must be more in depth. I believe that this, I know my party supports, in fact, in the 90s, my party supported the notion of executive presidency.
Yes, but 1995.
Yes, yeah. but because in an effort to cooperate and to concede, they concede to the Republican because in an effort not to be obstructive, you know, they said, let's go with that.
Yes.
So they now support, as a member of the Constitutional Reform, they now support the ceremonial presidency. I, for one, personally, do not support ceremonial presidency. Why do we need...
That's a good thing, you know. That's a good thing. And this is where me I go salute you as a politician, that you have your individual political opinion, and not at all time towing the party line.
No, the good thing though, the PNP facilitates dissent. If I had said that while I was in the JLP, I'd be kicked out.
Wow.
That's a fundamental difference with the two. I can speak comfortably here, expressing the party's view and expressing my view. Don't get me wrong, as a subscriber to the collective,
yes,
I will support my party's position.
Of course.
But I'm outlining to you Dennis Meadows' view.
Yes.
I believe
and that is very important.
Very important, because
that's a part
I'm not a slave to politics, you know. Not to my party.
No, we shouldn't be.
No.
We shouldn't be. All right. Continue.
So I believe that we need to have an executive presidency with separation of powers.
Break it down to the people with executive.
Let me tell you, executive presidency is the one that embodies head of government, head of state. One person. As we now speak, we have a governor general who is a ceremonial head of state,
yes,
who is paid upwards of $19 million. And the CEO, who is the prime minister, who does the work every day, is paid somewhere in the region of $7-8 million. What Sankey can sing so?
The Sankey will sing so because the governor general,
and he's exempt from taxes.
The governor general, that's it. That's what we call him, sovereignty. The people who are exempt from taxes are taxed, right? Are sovereign people. And there's only one other set of people in Jamaica. And nobody now pay attention to that. We soon go there, so. And it's the Maroons, right? Now, as you talk about the Governor General and the Prime Minister, which is the CEO, as you said, and the Governor General is, we want to look upon him as we call, as people say, ceremonial, but
no real powers. That's what ceremonial means. No real powers.
But when you check it out, deep into it, him still represent real power.
The sovereign.
Because the sovereign
Crown is sovereign.
crown is sovereign,
Not the people.
not the people.
It should be.
Because the people is still the subject
Yes,
of
yes.
the crown.
Yes.
Now, when we see what is happening today with this reform, knowing that a couple of our esteemed lawyers, people like Mr. Anthony Hilton is a part of the committee, that's all?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know who else.
Motley.
Motley?
Yeah,
Yes, yeah. As a, what I call him now? KC, because the thing changed now. She remain a QC or a KC.
I'm not
King's
sure.
Counsel.
I'm not sure Senator Motley holds that accreditation. I'm not sure. But she's a senior attorney
Okay, she's a senior.
of, vin-
attorney.
of,
All right.
of vintage.
Okay, so when we see what is happening right now, you just talk about your party, right? And where it is today as a political movement, not as vibrant, not as left as the 70s, but more what we call the free market system, more capitalist, more centralized.
Center left.
Or center left. I don't even know if I want to call it center left. The reason why I don't want to call it, the reason, because I have my political views to it. The reason why I don't want to call it center left is because when you look at really the head of the party, Mr. Golden promised when he was going up against Lisa Hanna that one of the things that he would do is to reinstate political education. That was one of the things why I did love the PNP, because as a socialist, a communist, from at the age of about 15, I was more with the WPG because I was a straight leftist.
You're a left
right?
left.
Yeah, man. That's something. See? Now, and that is what prepare us to even become thinkers and political activists, not in just on a partisan level, but more for progress, as you said, more for the upliftment of our people. Now, when we look at the Constitution and know that we have a representative from the People's National Party going ahead with this ceremonial, the people are going to really, see the difference in the two parties, because the people already feel like the two political is the common argument out there. Say the two of them are the same evil. This is what is happening right now in Jamaica. Every radio show you depend, when you talk to people, the ordinary people out there, or you are going to convince them, especially what is taking place pertaining to constitution reform right now, that there's a difference between your party and the present party that is in power.
We must understand that politics is very nuanced, and it's sometimes a product of us trading. Sometimes you don't want to, sometimes you concede for the greater good. In other words, you don't want to be, you choose your battles. So I'm sure there are certain points further down in this whole issue of constitutional reform that the PNP will hold their position. But sometimes in the interest of the good and sometimes to move forward, some points you will concede just and probably take up down the road a little when an opportunity arises itself. So I can understand the People's National Party don't want to be to appear obstructive in a process that is, in my view, impatient of debate and long in coming. Right? They might view that as an issue that can be resolved otherwise. But when it comes down to the more nitty-gritty and substance, I'm sure you'll hear their full stance and on those positions. So I can understand in this game of politics, sometimes you have to concede, right? But what separates the PNP and the JLP, I believe that the People's National Party is Jamaica's first and only political party committed to the fundamental change of system of government and politics and the welfare of people. That's what separates the JLP and the PNP.
I agree with you But we are looking at it now. And the reason why we are looking at it now, you see, something happened 1992. You know, the first time I voted, my honesty. But we never voted DJ Patterson for this term. That is how leftist I am. Right? Because I observed where he was taking the party. Markio is one of the most astute political mind in this country. I can say that. No doubt about that. You know what I mean? Very brilliant. I would have liked more leader like him. But I may understand, as I said a while ago, that based upon what was happening in the 70s and what happened to Michael Manley, he did have to make some serious political decision to see how best him could really navigate through the world system. And we see a whole heap of things happen. We see assassination of many of the leaders who stood up at the time, people like Maurice Bishop and others in, you know, and some who, and we see the attempt at Michael Manley life and them things. And we know how serious it was within this region by the power up north, the imperialist power. But when we are looking on that coming up into this period, we are wondering if the PNP really lose that grassroots connection with the people, the whole thing of political education, the whole thing. You remember even within the PNP at the time, youth service, you know what I mean? A lot of community center is around in each community, the whole interaction with getting people educating, the whole thing of educated, the whole thing of Jamal and all of these social programs that were there to really elevate the consciousness of the people. We see the PNP not really push that issue there again. And we are saying, how comes, you know, for a movement. Because as you said earlier on, you know, pertaining to where the movement started from, Norman Manley and yeah, I always love to pay attention to the socialism in the movement, the Hill brothers, Richard Hart and all of these people, the 4H's, these people who were part of the movement. And as you said, the movement started out of the workers' liberation movement and even the PPP, the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party, because that's where the whole thing I come from, which was the first political party. But when we look at what is happening now, and this is the kind of discussion that I want to have with our comrade leader, see? And I can't say our comrade leader because right now we can't have no kind of interaction with the brethren we are lead. You know, him is not accommodating when it comes to having proper discussion. He's more talking down to. And any kind of narcissism.
For the record.
I despise it.
For the record, you're speaking to the Prime Minister.
I'm talking about the Prime Minister.
Okay.
And I can't say it loudly.
No, because the transition would have make it sound like you're
no, man, not to Mark. Mark will use a virgin. We realize
just for clarity.
We see the kind of rootsy vibes with him, you know what I mean? And we can observe that, you know? But we still have a problem with him because he's a capitalist. Yes, me I go say that. He's a capitalist by mindset and by the actions. You know what I mean? They're a part of a movement. They're a part of a system. You see, we have to follow the history of Jamaica, you know. You know, so the private sector organization of Jamaica was a movement against the People's National Party. You know that?
They were weaponized in the 80s.
Aye. Against the movements of the people. I will want to say it, you know, against the movement for liberation, which we call the private sector. You know what I mean? So, yes, no, but we have to say the things because one of the things we observe with Mr. Meadows is his straight shooting attitude. You know what I mean? I love that. We don't like go around corner. And if we really want to lead the people,
must be honest.
We must be honest with the people. We must make sure the people understand the process that will take them to their high state. Because it has to be a process, don't it?
Yes, yes.
Now, we step on the constitution reform.
Yes.
I'm gonna ask you your personal view.
Yes.
What are some of the things that we could have do in a Trelawney? We are start in a Trelawney now. Or we going to engage, especially in a northern Trelawney. Because we see let me just finish this. We see them go around the island with some what they call it? Town hall meeting. None happen in Trelawney yet.
No.
Then not have the, you know, if there's any plan for any to happen.
They would. I believe if you're pursuing something as fundamental and far-reaching as constitutional reform, you have to go to every nook and cranny
Of
the
course.
island, including North Trelawney
Of course.
and South Trelawney,
Yes.
to ensure that you elicit and capture the people's opinion. It's a document that by which they will rule, right? That guides how their government must conduct themselves and how they conduct themselves. So they must have a critical input in the reform of that document.
Yes. So I back to Northern Trelawney, which me know say you are going to represent. See?
Thank God for you being prophetic.
I speak things into power. You know what I mean? I know that you are going to.
I appreciate that.
I know you're going to win, yes, too, you know. Mr. You're going to win. But just I look at some of the statistics, you know, in the elections that you have lost.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Dr. Patrick Harris, 2007.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Patrick Atkinson, 2011, and Victor Wright. Saying, now, that is 4 times you go up, you know.
So, 3 times.
It's 3 times.
Fourth,
So now
my
fourth is
fourth ball.
coming now.
My fourth ball.
Yeah, so we see
4th is a charm.
4th is your charm.
Yes.
That's what you say.
Yes.
All right. So we are speak that into power too.
But I want to use that though
Yeah.
to speak to particularly my young people out there that never quit. If you have
Young people, say that.
never quit. If you have a dream, pursue it to the end. Let nobody call you a loser, because victory is relative. You know, I don't regard my political failures. I see them as more opportunity for experience. Because if you notice, each time I run, my vote grows. In 2016, I got almost 10,000 votes. You think it's monkey vote that? There are people in parliament with less than 6,000 votes. Are they a member of parliament today? I get almost 10,000 and can go there. So the point of matter, victory or failure is relative, you know. Because for me, it was for me a learning experience. And what that accrued to me, interestingly, it accrued to me tremendous political goodwill among both sides of the political divide, JLP and PNP, because I do not see people as JLP or PNP. When I say a person, I see a Jamaican. If you come to me for help, the worst thing you can tell me, if you want to nauseate me or piss me off, don't tell me you vote for me. Because it doesn't matter if you're in need. If you need it, I don't care if you're JLP and PNP. I'm going to help you if I can. And that has been my mantra. That has been my deed, my action by which I live. And thank God that what I'm enjoying now in terms of significant support on both sides is a direct result of how I've conducted my politics over the years. And I live by that.
That is the kind of political leadership we really want to see in Jamaica. That's the kind of political leadership. A political leadership, you know, we don't really have no form of victimization, you know, and we suffer that too much over the years. That's why we are lagging behind as a people. The whole system of party preference and party color, you know, to hear you say that. And we're still upon the constitution reform. So we want to go forward.
Let me just tell you with that. For me, I would want to see an executive president as akin to the United States. The United States have an executive president. I want to see the separation of powers. And let me explain to the common man what that means.
Yes.
there are fundamentally three arms of government.
Yeah.
You have the executive, that's your cabinet. You have your legislature, your judiciary and your legislature. The legislature is your parliament, your senate, and the judiciary is your court from petty session go up. Right? So there's these three distinct arms of government. Under the Westminster system, not Westminster, some people say, it's Westminster. Westminster does not serve this country well. We inherited it from Britain. But Westminster thrives on a culture of integrity and honor. What do I mean by that? If a politician in the UK offend some law or some moral code, they are compelled by the sense of what is right and wrong to resign. So they take themselves away. England don't have a written constitution.
Wow.
England doesn't, you know.
We know that.
It operates in a culture of honor and integrity. And they hold themselves accountable. We out here, having inherited Westminster system, we have bastardized it. In other words, and what Westminster doesn't facilitate real separation of powers. Both the three arms intermingle. And let me just explain what I mean by that. When you go to vote, you vote for a member of parliament. You don't vote for a prime minister.
No.
You vote for 63 member of parliament. The party that wins the majority go into a room and determine. Usually, the custom we have is that the leader of the party usually emerge as the prime minister. But there's nothing in law that says that, you know.
We know that.
The leader, in fact, we have added in history where the leader is not necessarily the head of government, right? So you must understand. And after you elect these member of parliament, you make no other elections, you know. Everything else above that is appointed.
Our selection.
I've stated.
Yeah.
So the prime minister essentially appoints the judiciary. Don't fool yourself because you have a judicial service commission. The judicial service commission is appointed by the prime minister of the cabinet. The members are appointed. So therefore, there's no real separation of powers.
Yeah.
Under an American executive presidency style, you would have a separation of powers. In other words, if we have that now here in Jamaica, and you go to vote, Amira is running for member of parliament. Julia is running against you. You're the MP, you're the PNP, Julia is the JLP. God forbid. And I am a voter in the constituency, but I am open-minded. I might be sympathetic to the PNP, but I'm also an objective voter. So the candidate in my era, who's my PNP candidate, when I interviewed the two of them, I realized that the JLP to me sound better. Would make a better representative for my era, right? But when I look up on the top ticket, who's running for president, I might like my own or the other.
Yeah.
So what that does, that gives me a flexibility and that gives me an opportunity to vote. I can vote for a PNP member of parliament and a JLP president. So separation of powers give me that flexibility to exercise my real democratic right. Now you are entrapped because if you want Mark Golding to be a prime minister, you are compelled to vote for the PNP man or woman, even though you think he's not equipped for the job, because you want to get the majority.
Yeah.
So what you have, you could have a situation where, like in the United States, where you have a president, a PNP president, but the legislature is JLP, a majority.
Yes.
And that for me provides a kind of balance. It facilitates checks and balances. It also facilitates independence. So when, let me just explain what happens now. When you elect me and I shall be elected, I'm affirming it too.
Yes, man.
When you let me as member of parliament come to the next election, you vote for me to represent your interests in parliament. Mark Golding might find in his wisdom to appoint me a minister.
Mm-hmm.
That robs, in real terms, rob the people of my time to represent them, because I am now strapped with executive powers. You understand?
Yes, yes. Which is what is
Right?
happening all over.
In the United States, the president can take proven people in various sectors and say, come. They look at Bush Stewart, the late Bush Stewart, for example, or Adam Stewart, who survived him, and say, good, you have a track record of Minister of Tourism and Industry. Go take Minister of Tourism. And he has to go through a process through the Senate and to be vetted and so on, just like in the United States.
Yes.
You might look at Aymara and say, Aymara have a history of success in entertainment and culture. You can be Minister of Culture, right? So you're taken from outside. What that does, it frees the member of parliament who were truly sent there to represent their people, to really represent their people. What obtains now, and let's use the Road Traffic Act of recent vintage. If any of those member of parliament, the 63 member of parliament in that house, including George Wright, if they took their role as people's representatives seriously, they wouldn't have voted to pass that Road Traffic Act, because they would have consulted, they would have consulted their people, get what the majority opinion is, and go back to parliament and say, listen, man, my people don't like this, you know. But what they all did, especially those on the government side, what they did, they just knock bench, because they are constrained to do so by their party, who controls the whole space. If they vote otherwise, I can tell you, they don't have a future in politics. That's what the Westminster system, what we have bastardized, facilitates. And I believe that if this government want to be taken seriously, I believe that we must use this opportune time in history to thoroughly reform the Constitution, make it a real agreement between the power, the governed, and the governor. In other words, at the end of that Constitution, I want the people to be sovereign, not the crown, not the state. The people must hold the true power. That's what democracy is about, power by the people.
Now, we just talked about political education, that Mark Golding said that he would reinstate. Now, this is a candidate who we believe, you know what I mean, can enlighten. You just talk about young people. And this is one of the things. We see how them gimmicks out the politics in the last election with the young people, with clocks and all sort of things, and some dibby music and them some there. Now, my brother.
Just a side note. On that issue of clocks, let me just tell you straight up. Mark Golding is a criticized at times that he's not flamboyant, he's not charismatic. Let me just tell you. I am not into any leader that is, many charismatic leaders have wrecked their country in history. Lee Kuan Yew is not regarded as charismatic, but look at Singapore today. Mark Golding, I believe that I am not, which one would you prefer though? I rather the man who make the clocks and the man who wear the clocks.
Of course.
The man who make the clocks create job. The man who make the clocks have creative mind. The man who make the clocks of substance. Any fool can wear clocks.
And the man who make the clock can also inspire others to
Thank you.
build a
Thank you.
clock,
So I'm not
to
into
build
fluff.
something.
I'm into substance.
So this is what I'm talking. That's why we're going back. That's why we're going forward to that,
Yes.
pertaining to political knowledge. Because if the people are politically illiterate, then they would be choosing leadership blindly. Would you agree with me with that?
Certainly.
Now, you see, I am looking on this thing that we call, me don't even like use the term reform, you know, because we never farm nothing for reform anything, especially when it comes to this piece of thing what they call the Constitution in Jamaica. We never farm it. It wasn't a...
It was underdone, not our creation.
It wasn't our creation.
That is true.
So if we are going to farm something now, right, we put yourself in the middle age, you know. See? We have our children coming up. What role are they going to play in the future to become, you know, a set of people where power is within them and the kind of power for the people that you are talking about? Can they continue with this kind of mismatching education, political education system that not really carry them nowhere, where them feel like say, if a man can roll up a t-shirt with $10,000 and say, boy, just go vote, you know, and them don't understand the struggle that our forefather been through to attain what we call name universal adult suffrage. How many bloodshed, how many of our ancestors have suffered and died for us to reach that point that we could have reached, yes, so where we own people, our own people, you know, could feel like them can buy vote. Vote is a right that our people died for. And if we reach that point here, where we see any leader who engage in that kind of practice, you're still not representing the best interest of the people. And how you articulate the point pertaining to constitution reform and a while ago, we need that kind of political engagement, that kind of discourse in community centers. When we are youth, I grow up, I come and involve in politics. This is how we used to sit down and have them kind of discussion. We used to have books. We read books from the ANC. We read, because the whole thing was black struggle, black liberation. We are reading books from Fidel Castro from Cuba. We are reading Frantz Fanon. We are reading all of these great books, you know what I mean, to observe and see what was happening. We were also observing what was taking place in Nicaragua, what was taking place in Grenada, you know, on the political front. We were educating ourselves. Now, our young bright minds in the university at the West Indies and University of Technology and the various universities around now, your interaction with them as a political person, how much are you feeling them? How much you believe they are engaged in political knowledge? I not talk about somebody who just a move with them party, because what recently a lady said to me, said, him hear some youth say, we love the GLP, you know, because them spend money, and when them a give out machine, for the machine clean and crisp, unlike the PMP, them too stingy, because they don't know the history of the PMP. The PMP wasn't about that.
And by machine, you mean guns?
That is what the lady said. Me never want to say.
No, well.
you shoot just straight, man.
Let me disabuse the minds of that's what you just articulated a while ago.
Yeah.
Is really a figment of somebody's. That person should write fiction. Let me just tell it straight up. The days of politicians giving out guns are long gone.
We know that.
Let me tell you why. There's a reversal of roles. At one time, the youth man from the corner, they get it done. Depends on the sustenance from the politician.
No, what she was talking about, you know, was history. You know, it's not.
Oh, you mean history, not current?
No.
Well.
It's not history.
Because there's a reversal.
Yeah, man, we know that.
The politicians, they don't need us anymore. Yeah. They have their own source of income and blah blah blah.
Yeah, we know that.
But go back to constitutional reform. I believe that the government needs to, in my view, because at the forum in Montego Bay, one did not get the sense that there was an effort to simplify and to explain to the people in real terms what a constitution is. And that's the first you must start from, so people can appreciate what it is. We didn't create it, so we never know it. Go back to the issue about current cohort of academia, those who go into university. What I observe that there's an absence of political, social consciousness among our current cohort of university students. I remember in your days, in my days, we were almost regarded as terrorists in terms of our activism and follow up on issues. The only time I see these people stand up is when student tuition raise. They stand up for no other social issues, right? Which I find rather troubling. What I find also ironic, in an era where there's a proliferation, with pervasive level of information, you have social media, you have Google, you can ask any question now. There is an abundance of ignorance.
Wow.
As opposed to in our days where there was limited information, we were more informed. And that's the irony. There's a wealth of information out there. But if you watch some of these young people on social media, they waste this very effective tool, right? Which is really artificial intelligence, to do stupid things rather than use it to be as an edifying tool and to empower themselves and to do. They don't do that. They use it for foolishness, right? And I want to urge, use this opportunity, Imara, to urge our young people out there that you squander the legacy, the fight, the work of your ancestors, your grandmother, your mother, your great-grandmother, and so on. They struggle to achieve universal adult suffrage, which really means one man, one vote.
Yes.
Right? They earn that right. But we, as your generation, young people, are squandering that with your failure to get involved, your failure to take these social issues seriously, your failure to participate even at the base level of casting a vote. We do injustice and a disservice to the fight of our ancestors if we continue to do this. And you know what really nauseates me too, I find interesting. You induce a young man to vote or a young lady to vote by giving him $5,000. They don't even know that you can take that $5,000 because only a fool is giving money and refuse it. Only a fool, once that money is clean. So you're giving $5,000 to vote, and you don't know that going to that polling station where it's a private vote, you can reverse the trick on them, you know. Because when I'm going to go vote, nobody knows what I vote for. Don't it? Yeah. So therefore, you have a power that you realize that you have. So take the money if you want, and then I can tell you money going to run the next election. Let me just tell you that.
We know.
Right?
Yeah,
this seat,
that is something that
this seat was bought in 20, and I can say it. This seat was bought in September 2020. Bought.
Yes.
But the only good thing is that there's what you call seller's remorse, not buyer's remorse. Seller's remorse. People are now regretting ever selling their vote and now are prepared to reverse the fortunes.
And that
the
is
political fortunes of the constituency.
And that is what we call the low point in political ignorance. When people are politically ignorant, then we make foolish decisions, like what you just expressed a while ago, right? And you see, I feel the passion, not just hearing it. Guys, one thing to hear something, but I am feeling a passion. But you know the next thing I think about? If you don't get the kind of people who will participate after you win, because that's another thing. You win and everybody who did a campaign for you just come at your office, consider and say, Mr. Meadows, me pick them need to go to school, you know. Mr. Meadows, you know, 1, 2 block. Mr. Meadows, yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now, to get the people to participate in the political process constantly, or, you know, consistently, right, is something that we need, you know, to push in a Jamaica, that people understand, come to the knowledge that, you know, just go cast your vote for election day and go back here, go sit down. You have the community center to deal with. You have some youth down the road there, so where we can go sit down and organize to say, oh, we can build something substantial, you know, or we can look on Burwood Beach and make it become a place where people can just go there and feel good. All we go and take care of Burwood Beach, make sure say the beach them look clean. You know what I mean? Make sure say everything within your community, because that's a part of community activism, you know, and political activism, you know. Oh, we can reach the point, Mr. Meadows, you know, to engage the youth them to understand, say, watch out, when you vote and I become your member of parliament, I am just your humble servant, but at the same time, a commander at some level. Yes. So you are going to put your lieutenants and others in place who you know have the ability, just like Bruce Golding and them people, identify something special inside of you. You know, and just listening to you. Any person who are in politics will realize this is a bright mind we need to invest into. You know what I mean? And I realize that them pick you out because them see that kind of value inside of you. I never even know say he was a part of the NDM, he missed the part there. Yeah, man. See? And tell you the truth, after the WPGA, that was a movement that me not studied hard. It's just that Bruce Golding, they just, you know, me don't know what they get in their head, or the rest of people, they never got through with it. But the ideas, you know, that were was pattern.
That's what attracted me.
You know what I mean? And I tell you, I did love it. Yeah. You know, but somehow, as you say, the power of money, the power of money, you know what I mean, bought our brother. And it just remained after that still. I mean,
but I want to outline to you, because in my sojourn every day, I campaign literally every day. Walk. My strategy is old school. I walked house. I can say this. I'm the only candidate, possibly in the entire country. I literally walk every house in my constituency. If I don't see you, I leave a card. I walk hills and the byways. I climb mountains just to, because I believe it's simple. I believe that if I want your vote, I must at least meet you once. And what that facilitates, it facilitates that certainly you can meet the person, meet me. You might form some negative impression on me based on what you hear about me. But when I meet you, I'm able to disabuse you of that thought. Secondly, it facilitates me for me to hear your problems in the community at the community level, because sometimes you get the solution and the fix from the very citizens in the community. They can tell you if when rain fall, that water run there so, and Mr. Meadows, if you build a wall, there so the water will go there so. They live there. Of course. So I'm able to glean from them some of the solutions, because I don't come here as the repository of all the solutions for North Trelawney, right? I come with a core objective that I want to build on. Thank God I'm blessed with a team now, which I'm seeking to enhance and augment as I go along. I have some very talented people around me, but I'm seeking as we speak now to recruit like minds, people who share my vision for this constituency, so I can work with when the time comes.
One question I want to ask you. You said something about the executive body. What if when you become the member of parliament, come on, people out there to understand, you realize the fairness, the hard work of an individual who is on the other side, where you realize, you know, say, if me put this person in that job, yeah, so that person can give me the kind of result that I really need, but it's a labor right.
Listen, I have I've managed government companies, and before joining I worked for government for a period, and when I was going there, I was told that I'm going to run with all the comrades. Not one person was removed from their jobs. Because let me tell you, I don't care what your politics is. If you are doing your job professionally, right, and you demonstrate the capacity to do the job, you have my vote. So if I'm a minister tomorrow, but I manage JLP, but I want a position that I want somebody who's able to do it and do it fairly and competently, I might even get the job.
That's the kind of politics we want in Jamaica.
But I just want to outline briefly before time elapses what my core vision is for North Trelawney. Firstly, I believe that North Trelawney, as we speak, as an economy, a local economy needs to be diverse. Diversify. What we see, we're going the Montego Bay route, where there's an over-reliance on the tourism industry, which we have learned during COVID and know that it is a very fickle industry. If America sneezes, we catch a cold. If a ship comes in tomorrow and the water is rough, it turns back.
Yes.
That impacts the driver, the caravan, that impacts you know who. Bunch of stakeholders.
Yes.
Right? You can't run an economy based on tourism alone. It has its use, but it's very fickle. I am seeking to diverse the economy of North Trelawney by, in fact, as we speak, I have a friend who owns massive lands in Falmouth and environs, and as we speak, I am convincing him to put up a BPO facility that can employ upwards of 3,000 young people. He has bought in the idea, now seeking investors. I want to, instead of young people moving away from Trelawney, driving at risk in our taxis and so on, treacherous journey going to Montego Bay to go to work. Why we can't set up a beach? We have so much land in Trelawney. We have more land than Montego Bay in terms of government lands too. So I'm saying to you, I want to diversify the economy of North Trelawney, creating jobs for young people. But also when the jobs come here, I don't want the jobs are here and the young people can't take advantage because they're not so trained. What we see now, if you're going to any of these hotel rooms and construction sites, you find more people from outside Trelawney than local people. Which troubles me. It's not that these young people don't want to work. So a lot of them don't have the skills. So I want to seek to provide the training in advance. I've been discussions with HART, right? To set up BPO program so we can start school and give credit where credit is due. Because I call a spade a spade. The Prime Minister's recent announcement to remove fees, administrative and tuition fees from HART is a good move. Call a spade a spade.
Yeah, of course.
Right? But he needs to go further. He needs to go further because you know why? You move the fees and the administrative fees, but the people can't find the bus fare to come. That's a reality. When HART was created in the 80s by Edward Seaga, God bless his soul, you were paid to go to HART. You were given a stipend every 2 weeks. That facilitates you buying lunch. And my father usually provide lunch at the facility, right? But that gives you sustenance so you can get your bus fare where you're coming from and so you have no excuse. So I would love the Prime Minister to go further and start paying back the stipend, right, to HART students so they can afford the commute, the drive, the taxi to come to school, right? So, but I want to exploit HART to facilitate the requisite training so that when those jobs come, our people can take advantage and start twiddling their thumbs as they're doing now, right? There's another program that I'm looking at because in my sojourn, I meet the man on the corner, the young men, particularly the young men. Many of them went through school without being able to read and write. No fault of theirs. Because what we conduct now is what you call a conveyor belt education system, where you go to grade 1, You don't master grade 1 work, but you move on to grade 2, you move on to grade 3, and before you know it, you're out of school, can't read and write. In my days and your days, we don't move until we are able to matriculate. Not true? You ever about repeat class, a repeat farm? That was a time. But what we have now is a factory. Grade 1, grade 2, because we don't all learn at the same pace. Some of us have disability that's even not even diagnosed. So many of these young men come out of school unable to read and write. I want to fix that. There's a program I designed called CARE. It's an acronym. It stands for Community Adult Remedial Education. C for community, A for adult, R for remedial, E for education.
Something similar to
and what I do in going around, I meet a lot of retired teachers. In this country, we don't value talent, We retire people at 65 and send them home. That's a waste of talent. Have to invest in them.
Sure.
Why we don't use these retired teachers in the evenings, right? Pay them a stipend, re-engage them, right? There are many community centers, and especially community centers that are misused, underused, right? Are not used at all. Why you don't make those classrooms during the day? There are many church halls and churches that are not used during the day or sometime in the week. Use them. I'm sure the church will love to participate. So that young man might not want to come to go to a Jamal or a lifelong learning thing because of the stigma. Yes. But Miss Maisie, who used to teach him at prep school or primary school, he has a more comfort level. Miss Maisie teaching him how to read and write instead of going to Jamal. Give me the stigma. Sure. Right? So I want that program I'm seeking to do, and as I traverse in my campaign, I make a list of all the retired teachers I meet, because I want to engage those retired teachers, right? Pay them a stipend and allow them to train and to make our young men, particularly our young men and some of our young men, illiterate. We fix their education, because if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. One of the manifestations of ignorance that we are now suffering now in terms of deviant behavior is crime and murder. Because when somebody can't read and write, their self-esteem is very low. And the least thing you say to them is you diss them. And they react accordingly, negatively. And therefore, I want to fix that mind. That young man is able to read and write and therefore able to reason issues and solve problems and disputes without extreme measures.
You say it is innate. You're a born socialist, because that's the mind of a socialist. And when I say it's innate, you see, years, I remember in the 80s, I never get to move still, but a couple of my brethren them did go away. Many went to Cuba to get training and them thing there. And I see some of them come back and then just become capitalists. There's this young man that I saw Mark Golding interviewed recently, a Keith, Nugent from down Cockburn Pen, or what they call it, Coburn Garden.
Yeah.
Now, I've been saying this for years, that if our taxpayers help us, a lot of us, to attain at least tertiary level education, I see we can fix the crime and violence thing in Jamaica, if all of we come on board, Rather than you jump in your big vehicle and you go up on a corner, go beat some liquor. Why make you not take 2 hours out of them liquor drinking there and say, all right, let me go sit down in the corner with some youth and just even have a discussion with them, A man like you who verse in science and technology, and we are in this age now. We are in the 4th industrial revolution where everything is moving towards that, even farming. Recently, I have 2 brethren. One was here and one in the United States, and we're talking about where technology is going now. And if we are going to engage the next generation, because the older farmer, them are dead out, See? And if the younger people, them are going to farming, how we are going to equip them, because farming is a very essential part of any economy. If we can't feed ourselves, we're dead.
COVID
You understand? And COVID, before even COVID, because that is what you see, that's why I always go back to Michael Manley, you know, because that was one of the main things that he was pushing. You know what I mean? You feed yourself, or your self-reliance. You know, so hearing all these kinds of plan that you have, I would implore the people in Northern Trelawney that if they don't meet you yet, then come find a way to meet you. You know what I mean? Me not talk about wait till you come look for them. You know, seek out this brethren, have some kind a conversation with them. You know what I mean? If you have idea to, you know, put your idea forward. There's something when, as you talk about the BPO, we have a regular co-host and guest, Mr. Patrick Beckford, and he's always concerned about the treatment of our people in the hotel industry. Yes. They are working literally as slaves. And we are looking on the BPO to see that they are is the base for this cheap labor. What are we? Because it's one thing to provide job, you know. We hate to hear politicians talk about providing job, but the jobs that you provide for the people, them jobs are really sustainable. Them jobs can help them, or it's just a thing where them have the bus fare, and because they don't want is bus fare, lunch money, and back home, but them can't even take care of them, picking them properly. You know what I mean? Then just have a job. So the person who really benefit from it, because the 70s, where people become part owner of all of these entities. You know, you see people, that's why people go say me a socialist minded person. But the whole thing of privatization, you know, and when we're looking at Jamaica and see most of our people, a lot of our people are still squatters. Don't own a piece of land, no own nothing for themselves. We see all demolition taking place. We see leadership now is pushing off people off because we need to invest in these lands. We see the beaches, them, you know, a take away from the people. Or we can have a kind of constructive dialogue or discourse around this situation, that the youth and especially young people understand the value of owning something, ownership. And when we say ownership, it is supposed to operate in a communal way. See, that you as a businessman, and you know you depend upon your customer to sustain or supply your business, because without the customer, you have no business, right? Now, if you want to establish this business, that it become something massive, and you say, I see the gift and the talent in these people, that if me have them and give them a share of this business, we can get more out of them, and we can expand this, and we can grow, and we can become bigger. That kind of education, that kind of new age, me look upon it as a new age education. We talk about Singapore so much, you know, and we not pay attention to the things that Lee Kuan Yew did. And one of the things where we mistake with Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew was opposed during all the time that he was there. It is a total different thing from free culture. The two-party system destroyed it. Yes, there were more than one, but he was opposed for a period of time that he could carry out the kind of development and system that he would have wanted to see in a country. When I think with we in this Westminster thing, the two-party system, one set of people come in and then broke down what they want, even though it was progressive, you tear it down because it's not my party that started and everything there. Or we are going to reach a point that we can, you know, break down these kinds of barriers that really holding us back. Me know say you struggle as somebody want to represent the people and not want to, but you are representing the people as we speak right now by going up to this demonstration. That's political representation. People must understand that you don't want to represent the people when you're in a power. I want our people to start to see that as a part of the movement.
Representing there. Last week we changed the National Water Commission offices.
That's
So
representation.
keep that bounty all.
Yeah.
Was able to get, and ironically, water came their pipe after 4 months of not having water.
Yes,
One chain of a gate, water came through the pipes.
that's it.
Although the problem is not yet solved because I'm told that they're still having problems there. There's
Yeah.
something I'll follow up on.
Yeah.
But I believe it's going to take, to address your concern about, because if you remember the PNP in the 90s, introduced employee ownership, EPOP, I don't remember the acronym, but remember they introduced those employee ownership in divestment of government entities, the very thing to which you speak. Right? I think it's a program that we need under Mark Golding to pursue. That when you divest in government entity, you separate a portion of share for the employees, employee ownership. All right? But what this country needs, I believe, is transformational leadership,
Exactly.
which is lacking. Right?
You use that term there. Some people maybe have said, I won't say a while ago. Break down that in the layman term, transformational leadership. Make them understand.
Transformation by your actions, by your leadership, by your philosophy, you transform people. So in other words, your actions must be transformational.
Politics of change.
Politics of change. It must resonate in people's lives. And therefore, I believe that is what is lacking. One of the reasons why, and every opportunity I get selling Mark Golding, because he was one of the reasons why I, as I would often say, graduate from green to ripe.
Listen, he's your inspiration.
Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Quickly. In 2007, when I was a senator, I went to Parliament and moved a motion to decriminalize marijuana. My government at the day tell me that that's not a priority. Mark Golding, when the JP lost in 2011, right? Mark Golding on the motion of Raymond Price, by a stroke of a pen, decriminalize marijuana at 2,000 ounces or less, so that you're not arrested, you're supposed to give him a ticket. And also, but you're not only decriminalize ganja. He decriminalized thousands of our men, our youth, who all had a criminal record
yes,
for the mere offense of smoking a spliff. And that for me is progressive. That for me is impacting in people's lives. And any leader that passes laws for our people rather than against our people have my vote.
I agree with you 100%. So I agree with you. Mr. Dennis Meadows, you know, on this program, you know, we always want to give the guests the last lick or the last word, you know.
Yeah.
But let me say this. We are heading into a new phase, a new age, you know, pertaining to this fourth industrial revolution. We see where everything is becoming more centralized by government. The new world order is not just a local thing, but it's the international thing. A lot of our people not really prepare and ready for it. And we believe that is something that, you know, as political leaders, we have to engage our people more to let them understand how they are going to transition into this new age, because it's no doubt that it is here with us, and we can't hide from it. You know, COVID taught us that, you know, you talk about education, schoolroom education and them thing there. Classroom, maybe it's going to be a thing of the past.
True.
Physical
space.
We have to think about these things. just wrap up and tell we or we can engage you some more and make the people, tell them can find you.
That is simple. First of all, let me say thanks to you and Maria and Fit FM for facilitating this sit down. Fit FM Trelawney's radio. Yeah. And secondly, to your viewers and listeners for listening and participating. I believe that I have a passion to serve people. I want the opportunity to serve Trelawney. I've run 3 times. I remain committed. And I want to serve where I live. I believe that I believe in the capacity of the Jamaican people to achieve great things if they are facilitated and afforded a level playing field, fair play, if they are given a chance. That's all I want. I want to live in a space that I must not be the only successful, because if I'm the only successful in an environment or a wilderness of poverty and despair, I'll be encroached on by crime. So therefore, I want everybody to be happy. And that's my mission in life, into improving the lives of my fellow citizens.
Great. This is an inspiring community buzz. If you're out there and you don't feel this, well, you need to go check yourself. Maybe you need to go down at the sea tomorrow morning, go take a dip, or you need to go take a bath from one of them mother woman, because them good too, or you need some prayer and fasting or something like that. But I am happy to, sit with you, Mr. Dennis Meadows, and we wish you all the best, and we will support you and your mission, because as I say, not just hearing the passion, but I'm feeling the passion. And and we need to do more of this, And also, we don't know if she's going up back, because we understand that the people say she's missing in action. But would I like to sit down with the sitting MP, Sitting MP, where are you? Why we can't find you? You know what I mean? For the matter, I would like Fit FM to facilitate a debate between you and Mr. Dennis Meadows inside the studio. You know what I mean? Hopefully in the near future, because that is the kind of political, what I call it? Help with a word, Mr. Meadows. The kind of political balance, let me use that. What would I like? That the people can hear two people really going, but what you're going to over, the people say you deserve them. So I don't know where you're going to come with. We have to talk the truth, because that is what we are hearing on the ground. The people said you are missing in action. But would I really like to know why you're not among the people who put you in power? You know what I mean? Although Mr. Meadows said it was an election that was bought, but we need to talk about that too. We are straight shooter, and you need to express if it was so, because we need a clean Jamaica. We need a Jamaica which is really a democratic country. And if we are moving to constitutional reform and we want a better place for we picking them on for the next generation, it needs a kind of truth and reconciliation for us to go forward. And if we are going to talk about reparation and all of these things, but enough things we want to talk to you about. We want to ask about reparation. We want to talk about the Caribbean Court of Justice, your role in the Senate. You have to go come back, Papa. You have to go come back. Yeah.
Unlike my possibly opponent, I'm available. I'm not missing.
All right. See, we give thanks to be here. This is another community buzz, you know what I mean? And look forward next strong for another in-depth discourse, on social issues, and we are here to serve the people, and we want you to participate, people. I will put my brethren when they say me not listening, What good God, man? We no call to no man, we can't call. And just call, only so shy, only come so docile. Bless up yourself, Patrick Beckford, and all of the other people, and the people on Facebook who participate, we give thanks. YouTube, we give thanks. Next strong. Blessings, Julia. Primal Media Network, bless up. Joel, Mihima, Love and Light, we give thanks.